Hello and welcome to the 40th installment of my grading of all of the base game cards. If you want insights into the grading system, check out the description or click on the link in the top right hand corner to get to the first video, where I explain it all. But let's get started. Last episode I talked about trees, how great it is and how much better it is than other plant cards that get unlocked at roughly the same time on the temperature track. And I compared it to Tundra Farming. This card is just meh all around. What you usually expect of plant cards is that they are quite inefficient in terms of plant prod if you can play them early. Think of Adapted Lichen, for example. But then that they get more efficient the longer the game goes on. Heather is much cheaper than Adapted Lichen, for example, and offers an instant plant on top. Bushes gets unlocked a little later but grants 2 plant prod instead of 1. Trees then grants 3 plant prod and so on. Tundra Farming breaks this pattern. It has quite a high requirement with minus 6 degrees Celsius, is quite expensive, rivaling kelp and farming in cost, but only grants 1 measly plant prod. Sure, it also grants 2 MC prod and 2 points, but often this is at a point where you still are more interested in plant prod than points, which anyways can help score more points passively. Tundra Farming to me is an underwhelming card that deserves to be placed in D tier. Cards that cost a lot for seemingly no reason, we have more of that with Underground City. Compare this crap to Cupola City. It costs more just on the face of it, it offers a little bit more development but in a less flexible form as steel rather than MC, and then it consumes 1 more power prod on top of that. For what? The fact that it doesn't have a requirement? That does not in any way compensate for the other factors. It's not a great early game city like Domed or Cupola, it's not a great late game city like Open City or Capital, and it is not cheap like Immigrant. It's just crap. You really only want to play it if you can pay for it in steel completely and have a ton of power left over from something like Mass Converter. But in cases where you have a ton of steel left over, you certainly don't need more steel prod. Overall, Underground City is a D tier card in my opinion. It's saved from F tier because it can be a late game steel dump, and cities do offer a unique way of scoring points. Finally, we've done it. You reached the best card in the entire game. A gem of strategy, a beacon of light in the dark void of shitty terraforming mass cards. You've all been waiting for it. Underground Detonations. This belongs unquestionably to the absolute top tier of cards. It's so good that I would pick it over Earthcat, AI Central and AGT combined. Yeah, no, this card is the worst card in the entire game, and you all know it. I bet half of you waited 40 episodes just to hear me trash this card for half an hour. When I started this series, I thought I would put this and a few other cards in F tier, but quickly I realized that I wanted to put more cards into F tier than originally intended to separate some of these shitters from the cards in D tier. But that now means that F tier is populated with some cards that have niche use cases like cloud seeding, magnetic field generators, power infrastructure and so on. These cards do not deserve to be put in the same tier as Underground Detonations, so I have decided to create a new tier just for Underground Detonations itself. I will also quickly explain why this card is so bad. To get 2 heat prod, you pay 19 MC. That's 7 MC more than if you had just played Import of Advanced GHG, and that card can fully be paid for with titanium, while you can only pay the base cost of Underground Dets with steel. Also, GHG has so much more combo potential, it's not even funny. To get 4 heat prod, you pay 29 MC with Underground Dets, that is 6 MC more than with Mohole Area, and again, you can pay for that card completely in steel if you want. And you get a placement bonus that could be worth 6 MC, meaning that is 12 MC more expensive. And you also get that prod in 2 installments, making it so much slower. And if you want 6 heat prods with that, well, no, don't do that. Just rethink your life decisions instead. That is not worth playing and definitely not worth using. It is deserving of its own tier. It's that bad. Comically bad. Why tier for sure? Alright, let's all shake ourselves a little bit, forget what you just had to witness, and talk about the next card. Urbanized Area. When placing cities and greeneries, Terraforming Mars players perform a little bit of a dance. There are some unwritten rules that need to be followed. A. Try to avoid leaving a 3-point city spot open, meaning an empty tile next to 3 greeneries, where your opponent could place a city. And B. Don't leave your cities with open spots directly between them, especially if there are more greeneries around. This mainly is due to two cards, Commercial District and Urbanized Area. But Urbanized Area is the scarier one. It's a whole 6 MC cheaper and often scores better since it gets its point from greeneries and not cities, and there are likely more greeneries around than cities. It's just a more focused card overall. Less of its price is justified by MC prod, meaning that it is more clearly just a late game card for points. As I said, it's super influential as it has formed patterns in the play of experienced terraformers, and it can absolutely swing a tight game in the last gen, because not only can it score well for you, but it can also deny points from your opponents. However, it is also a risky pickup, especially if your opponents saw it in a draft, since then they can play around it. For me, it's a B tier card. And lastly, for this penultimate episode of rating base game cards, we have Vesta Shipyard. This card is asteroid mining's smaller brother. It costs half as much and grants half the effect, both in terms of prod and points. But there's a caveat. Yes, Vesta's base cost is half of asteroid mining's, but the cost of buying the card makes Vesta a worse deal than AM, which is basically 3 MC cheaper since you need to pay the cost to buy only once but get double the effect. Also, AM is just a higher impact card. If you have to choose between Vesta and AM, the latter just does more for you, and since many space techs and especially many Jovians are horrendously expensive, that can make a difference. It also gets one more discount, a 4 MC rebate from Credit Core. All that leads me to believe that AM is distinctively better than Vesta, so while AM landed in C tier, I'm going to put Vesta in D tier. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know in the comments whether you agree with my ratings, or if not, how you would have rated these cards differently. Also, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and consider subscribing, it really helps me out. And lastly, please check out my Twitch and my Twitter. See you in the next video.